感谢陈博士刚才精彩的演讲。接下来，他将继续为观众们带来英文演讲，主题是医学院成功录取，从案例分析看培训规划及申请策略。
I'm Dr. Simon Chan. It is such a pleasure today to talk about a topic which I'm always very hesitant to talk about, because I will always love to talk about positive cases, meaning students get into medical schools. I'm always very afraid and hesitant to talk about the unsuccessful cases. That means certain students could not get into medical school. Why? Because nobody wants to talk about the hurting places. Everybody wants to make sure there's a chance to go to medical school. However, the problem with American medical school is admission rate usually only about 2%, like Stanford, 3% like Harvard. That means 100 people apply, 90-some, 95, 96, 97 students would not get in. So after 18 years of this particular work, helping college students to apply, helping college students to get prepared on their pre-medical career to go to medical school, today, finally, I've decided I will talk about the unsuccessful cases, but don't worry, at the end of my talk, at 30 minutes, I will talk about a very positive approach in getting a application strategy for medical school. I promise I will help. Unfortunately, sometimes college students, they are way beyond being humble, especially to their parents, okay? They don't listen to the parents, and then, of course, they don't like to listen to Simon Chan. Who is Simon Chan, right? Well, I'll tell you about who is Dr. Simon Chan also. Maybe you will give me a little trust on my, I would call it extensive experiences in helping students successfully at the rate of 90% able to get into medical school. My success rate is 90%. I cannot guarantee every single student, but every student I'm willing to take into my program of pre-medical strategy and application, 90% of them will get in, 9 out of 10. But every year I only take about 5 to 6 students. That means 4 to 5 out of 6 of my students will get in each year into medical school. Today's topic is about successful pre-medical strategy and application. And again, this will start with, my talk will start with negative or unsuccessful cases first. You have to pardon me. This is what I'm going to do today. I'm Dr. Simon Chan. I'm a gastroenterologist. I'm a stomach, colon, liver, pancreas specialist doctor. I'm also an internist. That means I take care of adults patients mainly. I have been in practice for quite a long time, more than 28 years, mainly at UCLA and Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. And today I am scaling down because on my medical practice I need to cut some time out so that I can help the pre-medical students on the weekend. So therefore, I'm paying attention to those students in particular preparing for medical school, and particularly those who could not get into medical school. My admission office experiences dated back to Princeton University when I was an undergraduate student. I still remember I worked for a dean who was in charge of minority students. He was very interested in taking care of students from Texas, from Mexico, et cetera, and my territory actually was New York City, Chinatown, and also Beijing, China. I had such a pride in helping students in those regions to get admission to Princeton, otherwise they would not have. In my medical school days at Mount Sinai, New York University, and also UCLA Medical School when I was a resident, and then later on an attending physician, I also get involved with the admission office. So my experience actually is pretty, I would call it pretty rich. I've seen a lot of medical school applications, and I have deciphered, decided, filtered, commented, judged even on certain medical school applications. I'm very proud of my work. Thereafter, I started helping some friends, doctors' friends usually, sons and daughters to get into or get medical school application ready. So therefore now I've done 18 years of And one-on-one. In particular, I spend a lot of time on application strategy, unique application strategies. Please don't think that you have your GPA, you have your MCAT, you will definitely guarantee get into medicine, because admission rate is only 3% to 5%. I've done my undergraduate at Princeton, then my medical work at Mount Sinai School of Medicine in New York. After about 5 years of medical practice, I thought that I didn't know anything about society, so therefore I went back to learn and take my master's degrees in MBA, Business, MPH, Public Health, MSOD, Organization Psychology, and MDR actually was about law, mediation law. I also went to England, Oxford University, to study something called evidence-based practice of medicine. Top 10 university of medical school in the United States, including Harvard, New York University, Columbia, Johns Hopkins, UC San Francisco, Duke, UPenn Perelman, Stanford, University of Washington, Seattle, and also Yale University. Mount Sinai Medical School today is ranked as number 11. Look at admission rate. 2019, 2020, 2021. Harvard, no change. 3.5, 3.5, 3.3, dropping. Columbia, 3.5, 4.1, 3.5, dropping. UC San Francisco, 3.3, 3.9, 3.8, about the same, but dropping. UPenn, 4.4, 4.4, 4.4, very courteous. They stay exactly the same for the last 3 years, but otherwise, most medical schools will be exactly like Harvard, Columbia, Yale, etc. Yale is 6.5, 6.5, and 5.5. Every year is dropping application admission rate. That also translates the other way is 100 people, 100 students apply, only 95 or 96 of them don't get in, actually. Let me talk about the negative side of it. Because only 3%, 3.5%, 6.5%, these are the lucky people or well-prepped, well-prepared pre-medical people, students who get in, but 95, 90-some of 100 people don't get in. This is California. Stanford University average admission rate is about 2%, UC San Francisco 3.9%, UC San Diego 3.6%, UCLA Worth 2.8%, USC private university 4.5%, UC Davis 3.5%, etc. Even UC Riverside, which is a very new university, about 10 years history of a medical school, is only 3.4%, and UC Riverside essentially admit mostly minority students. No change. It doesn't matter you're Stanford, a private university. It doesn't matter you're UC Riverside, a California state university mainly for the minority students. The admission rate is still about the same, 2 to 3.4%. That means 100 people apply, 90-some of them just will not get in and will try again. But it may not be successful the second time, the third time, unless they have an application strategy, which I will talk about today. Even the newer medical schools in California, including Cal North State, admission rate only 8.8%, Cal University of Science and Medicine in Riverside, only 5%, Kaiser, brand new university, have not even graduated one class of medical doctors yet, admission rate is only 1%. 100 people apply, 99 of them will go home and will never see Kaiser Medical School in Pasadena. This is getting a little bit disturbing and discouraging. The usual statistics, medical school admission rate at approximately acceptance rate success at 84.2%. You have to have a GPA of 3.8. If you're from an Ivy League school, it can be a little bit lower than 3.8. And also MCAT, MCAT of 518 out of a 528. But my experience is that I have had students who has a 522 still don't get into medical school. Hopefully not too many of them, okay? Because getting a 518 is already 90th or higher percentile of the whole examination. How can somebody a student much better than average don't get into medical school? This is the discouraging and sometimes very sad news to our very dedicated students. Someday want to be doctors for the United States. So the magical number would be GPA over 3.8, MCAT over 518, your acceptance rate is not 100%, but only 80%. For DO schools, DO students, a little bit humble, GPA 3.0 is okay, MCAT 505 is okay. And then for physician assistant, not necessarily a doctoral degree, GPA around 3.0, but at least 1,000 clinical hours. Today, we're not going to talk about PA. Today, we will mainly concentrate on talking about MDs and DO candidates. Medical laboratory science is medicine. This is very commonly used, so-called application uniqueness or focus, or sometimes a theme, that if I have medical laboratory science that works on medicine, make medicine more advanced, if I come up with a new drug, if I come up with a new way of treating a disease, if I come up with a new way of utilizing laboratory animals so that now I know how to operate on human beings better, that is medicine. And that will get me into medical school. Many times students say that to me when I help them. When I was in the preparatory state, I always answer them, no. Medical laboratory science is not medicine. Let me explain. Let me use a real case. UCLA graduate, GPA 4.0, all A's. MCAT 519, higher than the usual average. Gap year 2, meaning that he, after his bachelor degree, he actually come out to society to work for a little bit and perfect, try to make his pre-medical plan more up to date. Clinical activities, none. I still remember what he said to me. Dr. Chan, every time I go to shadow some emergency physician in the big emergency room, I just hate it. Because all I did was watching the doctor doing something with a patient, maybe even doing a procedure, maybe giving a prescription, so on and so forth. I smiled and I got back at him. I said, what do you expect? You are a pre-medical student. You don't have a license to practice medicine. If you don't watch a real medical doctor perform a medical procedure or treating a patient, you want to do the operation yourself in an emergency room? Are you kidding me? He laughed too. Clinical activities is something that a lot of pre-medical students don't pay attention, and then they also blame on it, saying that watching another doctor doing something is boring. Medicine is about treating people. If you don't understand clinical activities, you don't have the right, the privilege to even apply to medical school. Let me tell you for sure. I've been a medical doctor for 20-some years. I've been helping students for more than 18 years. I'm going to tell you right out, if you don't spend time watching another physician performing medical diagnosis, treatment, maybe even surgery, you don't qualify, period. He concentrated on his research work with HIV vaccine development. I don't blame him. HIV has been a very deadly disease for 20-some years, 30 years, but today is not a frightening disease. Watching COVID getting the vaccine, the mRNA vaccine, within a short period of time, of course, everybody, every researcher, every medical doctor, every professor, now every pre-medical student want to get involved with either COVID vaccine development, already too late, of course, and also HIV vaccine development. I don't blame him. He spent a lot of time on it. He has a full-time job on it. Medical schools apply to because he's a 4.0 student with 519, a very high MCAT. He applied to only top 15 universities, including Harvard, Yale, Columbia, UC San Francisco, UPenn, etc., and only the 13 California medical schools. I congratulate him, not for his success, but I congratulate him for his courage. I asked him, how do you have this courage to apply to only a few schools? And they are all top 20, top 10 medical school. How do you do that? Where do you get the courage? Where do you get the confidence? How about that? So he said, my application focus is translational research. Excellent, I don't disagree. He said, my uniqueness is about my full-time 2 gap years laboratory research. I'm going to publish a paper eventually, and I may even participate in inventing HIV vaccine. Medical school interview, he interviewed at 3 California medical schools. Finally, he got into only one, UC Riverside. waitlisted Stanford, UC San Francisco. He was waitlisted at 2 top 10 universities, and he got into UC Riverside, ranking probably over 70 or maybe even close to 100. Why? He got into UC Riverside because of his high GPA, because of his MCAT, because of his laboratory research. I absolutely don't disagree with his success, but he was not happy. He did not want to go to UC Riverside. He wanted to go to UC San Francisco. He wanted to go to Stanford. Maybe he even wanted to go to Harvard, Johns Hopkins, etc., etc. I'm sorry. The myth is medical laboratory science is not medicine. The myth is medical laboratory science is medicine. Conversely, medical laboratory science is not medicine. It's not going to justify your candidacy that, in particular, you did not enjoy your shadowing work when you were in the emergency room watching another doctor performing doctoring work. Shortcoming, in his case, no clinical, no societal contribution. He applied to too many elite medical schools. What could he have done better? He should have an application strategy. He can try again. I hope that he now understands going to medicine, going to medical school, take application strategy. Next, this is even more proud of himself. He said, medical science publication is medicine. I published paper with my professor, and this professor actually maybe even is associated with a medical school, and the medical science is about new drugs, new something, new treatment, etc. Medical science publication is medicine is this particular student's strategy. My answer to her, no, not true. Princeton student, my alma mater, 3.8. 522 out of 528, very high MCAT. Gap year, none. Very confident about herself, applied straight to medical school right away from junior year. Volunteer Princeton Medical Center emergency room, shadowing a neurologist in private practice, a little bit better. Kind of by courtesy, enjoy the clinical experience. Research work, antimicrobial treatment option for tuberculosis, new drug synthesis for tuberculosis, based on a very famous Princeton professor's work. Medicals who applied it, top 10 to 30, applied to 15 schools only, not many, only 15 top 10 to 30 ranking medical schools. She said, application focus, I published 2 research papers. I'm good. I know what to contribute to the medical world, to society. Uniqueness, laboratory research in drug development, medical school interview, Duke, University of Colorado, all top ranking, top 10 and top 30 ranking university. Wow. Medical school acceptance, none. What happened? Now he learns. Now she learns. Acceptance, none. No medical school, no Duke, no University of Colorado, no other university want to even interview her. What happened? Myth. Medical science publication is medicine. Conversely, medical science publication is not medicine. It's your very much beloved passion in the laboratory to invent something. I adore you. I applaud you. I think you are a great scientist. But ordinary clinical experience don't qualify you to go to medicine, to go to medical school. No real societal contribution in respect to disease, and you apply to too few medical schools the first round. This student today, she's already in medical school, 3rd year. She's doing well because she has corrected her application the 2nd round, and she had application strategy. She enjoyed medicine very much. I hear this every single day, every single week. Helping people is the reason I want to go into medicine. So helping people is medicine. Sometimes I joke around with this kind of student. I said, wait a minute, MDs help people, right? Yes, we all agree. Nurses help people too. What are you talking about? Teachers help people too. Bus driver help people too. Waiter help people too. Waitress help people too. So waiters are in medicine, waitress are in medicine, teachers are in medicine automatically. So helping people is medicine is wrong. Wrong concept. I didn't say wrong preparation, but I say wrong concept. Student from Johns Hopkins University, GPA not so great, 3.5. Don't blame you, Johns Hopkins pre-medical university. MCAT 514, gap year 1. That means you apply to medical school in your senior year, waiting to hear about the result. Clinical activity, shadowing a community physician in a community health center. Good job, okay? But when I was talking to him, he has actually no idea what medicine, what medical practice, what is treatment, what is diagnosis, what is differential diagnosis, what is the best medication, etc. He had absolutely no idea. He only knew that he wanted to help people. That's all he knew. Research work, basic science laboratory in Johns Hopkins, medical school applied, top 10 to 50, applied to only 20 schools. But one really interesting phenomenon, he applied to both MD and DO, meaning that he's not confident he's going to get in to MD school, which requires 3.8. So therefore, his 3.5 GPA and a 514 MCAT, he thinks that if he cannot get an MD, he's going to get an DO. Let me explain in about 2 minutes why this may not be the best idea that on the same year apply to both MD and DO. His application focus was about personal dedication to help the underserved, especially in psychosocial areas in underserved people. Uniqueness, community health, social medicine, because it's not all about a medication that helps, it's also about how to help people that helps. I applaud him for his thinking. Medical school interview, none. Not even one. 3.5, 514, you just won't get into the statistics of the magical number of 3.8 and 518. Trust me on this one. Pushing has no result. But of course you can say that, hey, wait a minute, I applied to MD, I don't get in, I don't get an interview, fine. But my 3.5 and 514 should get me into DO medical school or get a DO interview at least, right? Acceptance is definitely none. None for MD school, none for DO school, because you have a myth. Besides of your low statistics, your low metrics of low numbers of GPA and MCAT, your myth is about helping people is medicine. On the corollary to that is helping people is not all about medicine. Teacher help people too. Even a waitress help people. So your dictum on your application essay saying that helping people is medicine, especially in psychosocial areas, especially to help the underserved, is a wrong assumption. Shortcoming, no passion in medicine, apply to MD and DO school at the same year. Not a good idea. DO school is not going to like it. DO school would not give you the chance because your heart is really into MD school, but your numbers really qualify you only for DO schools. Remember that. You should have improvement in your application strategy, which you don't have one. I know this is discouraging. I know this is disappointing. The counselor, the teacher, Dr. Simon Chan told you already. Please take it to your heart. Next one is even more interesting case. Community health, social medicine, public health is medicine. One more time. Community health, social medicine, public health is medicine. By the way, just looking, don't even bother look at the definition, just look at the terminology. Community health, there's nothing about medicine. Social medicine is social, but not really biological medicine. Public health is definitely not medicine, right? So if a student use this as a way of a dictum to help your application to medical school, the answer is no. I don't make these rules. It's my experience from being in a mission office in medical school that tells me, that teach me, and also now it's my responsibility to teach you. Certain things, certain thinking is definitely not going to qualify you. Student from Ivy League, Brown, GPA 3.6, good. MCAT 512, not that good. Gap year, none. Apply from junior year. Clinical activities, shadow, community, primary care, doctors in Los Angeles. He actually learns a lot. He had learned a lot from his primary care doctor. However, his research work, nothing laboratory, by the way, because he already made an assumption, also make a decision that controlling communicable disease in Southeast Asian country is exactly what he wanted now and in the future. I don't disagree, but you still have to do some research work, even involving community, public health, epidemiology, something about communicable disease, infectious disease that would make sense, right? And shadowing a primary care doctor, not an infectious disease doctor, is not going to qualify you that in the future you will have an expertise in infectious disease and communicable disease so that you are qualified to apply to medical school. And also very interesting, he only applied to 13 California medical schools. No out of state, no Midwest, nothing at all. Application focus, community health improvement. Uniqueness, international health in a Southeast Asian country and in Southeast Asia. Medical school interview, none. School acceptance, none. Myth, community health, social medicine, public health that's it, that's all. They're all about medicine. They're all about medical practice. The answer is absolutely not. Shortcoming, no actual Asian country clinical experience. You want to work in Southeast Asia, you got to be in that country, shadow a doctor, shadow a hospital. No infectious disease experience in the United States. You want to control communicable disease, infectious disease in the world or in the Southeast Asian country, at least you got to have infectious disease experience in the United States. Community health is not medicine, please. And you only apply to the only 13 California medical schools. Interesting enough, half of the California medical schools are ranked top 20. The other half are all very exciting and very new medical schools, including Kaiser. Admission rate is only 1%. How are you going to squeeze yourself into that 1%? You will need something called application strategy. You should have some improvement in your application strategy first. You have to start paying attention. Otherwise, you're going to be very discouraged. Fundamental pre-medical application strategy has two areas, to be and to do. To be means is that you have to ask yourself, what is medicine? Define medicine to yourself. Is laboratory science, that's it? Is social medicine, that's it? Why this kind of medicine is for me? Why laboratory medicine is for me? Why social medicine for me? Etc., etc. From to be, you have to come up with to do. How to get your pre-medical activities. Empty talk is not going to provide any showing or demonstration that you know exactly what you're talking about. You want to be in practicing medicine in the future for the underserved people, then you have to shadow physician in underserved areas. What are my pre-medical activities? So therefore, please ask yourself, what is medicine? Why medicine? How to get it? And what are my pre-medical activities? And of course, none of these should be about a myth, right? You heard that already. You must have an application strategy. This is how I teach my student. What is medicine? A pre-medical student, you first must have meaningful clinical experiences, clinical activities. Let me emphasize the word meaningful, clinical. It is not just watching somebody, you are right, just watching somebody performing a surgery, then you know what his medicine is about, then you know what a medical doctor does. You have to get yourself involved. get yourself involved. Again, you're not qualified to do the surgery yourself, but you are qualified to watch again and again, watch again and again, watch again and again. And also watch the pre-operation and the post-operation for this particular patient, and got to learn something about how that would influence your career for the future as a medical doctor. Next, laboratory work, if not, at least a research project, but you have to have some invention, you have to have some new data, you have to have some new things to offer to the society, to the world of medicine. Clinical plus research, you must impact a particular disease or a particular population. If your clinical work is about disease A, your research work has nothing to do with disease A, you don't understand, you don't have a complete application strategy for disease or a population. Then next, why is it for me? Why medicine? As a doctor, of course, you're going to pay attention to others, to patients, to other population as a whole. You're going to make an impact to a patient's health, make them better. You're going to pay attention, make an impact to a population, make the entire population better. Just like COVID vaccine, I hope that indeed, as a pre-medical student, it's not just by asking people to take the vaccine. Actually, you are following up on a particular population. Make sure most of them get 3 doses, maybe even the 4th dose coming. You are impacting other people's life as a medical doctor of the future. But this part, most students don't understand. As a medical doctor, you are doing something for yourself, for me. Why medicine? Because medicine gives me self-satisfaction. Medicine gives me self-pride. You have to function as a doctor because you care about others, but at the same time, you care about yourself. So by caring yourself, knowing what is your self-satisfaction and self-pride, you are giving yourself and defining your passion in medicine. Why medicine? Is that because if I don't do this particular procedure, if I don't do this particular operation, surgery, if I don't talk to patient every day about their COVID vaccine, I'll be so disappointed. Therefore, I do have a passion in medicine. That's the reason why medicine. Most students don't know why. Most students don't understand what is a passion in medicine. What is a passion in medicine means is that you are able to enunciate clearly you are for others, at the same time you are for yourself. It's not just because you have done certain activities, you have done some work in a laboratory, you understand public health, you will become a successful pre-medical student. So what is a successful pre-medical preparation? Vision, plan, focus and develop expertise, and a strategy. Vision, plan, focus, strategy, you will get into medical school. In the meantime, you also need to train your IQ, EQ, CQ means creativity, SQ, societal contribution. Many things you have to do, many things you have to get prepared so that it's not an empty application about how you care about your neighbor, how you care about Mr. So-and-so who is senile and demented, and how you worry about people getting certain kind of disease or surgical trauma, etc. Successful pre-medical student case. This is a student of mine about probably 6 years ago. I helped her to get involved, get interested in the disease called NF, neurofibromatosis. She followed every single physician who cared for patients who has NF. Surgical clinic, medical clinic, neurology clinic, neurosurgical clinic, psychology clinic, even genetic counseling clinic and support groups. Every possible clinic activity, every possible clinical opportunities that she would learn about these patients with neurofibromatosis, she got it. She found it. She grabbed it. She captured it. She became an expert in it. In the meantime, she also followed the same professor in genetic lab to look for genetic research to correcting NF disease. So therefore, overall, her clinical plus her genetic research indeed is making an impact on NF practice, NF patients, neurofibromatosis patients. She's now 3rd year in medical school. She had a very successful application strategy. Medical school application success is not by chance. It is by choice. It's by your dedication to craft a application strategy. Application need application strategy. Cannot have myths in there. Likewise, your statistics, your metrics need to be a certain point. If we need a 3.8, you better have a 3.8 on GPA. If we need a 518, hopefully you will have a 519 even. That is to screen you through the process in the computer for each medical school admission office. But otherwise, use your application strategy to elevate your chance. I'm Dr. Simon Chan. I've been in medical practice in gastroenterology and internal medicine, and I've been in medical school admission office at Mount Sinai Medical School as well as UCLA Medical School. I have the sincerity of helping successful and also unsuccessful students in particular to help you to become successful one day. I still practice medicine, but my weekends is dedicated to help you to come up with a application strategy. I certainly hope that I will have a chance to see you, talk to you, discuss with you, and hopefully help you to be successful.